Let me ask you a strange question. What if I told you there's a substance already inside your body right now that has been studied in over 500 scientific research papers that improves your strength, your muscle, your memory, your energy, and possibly even the way you age, and that most people simply don't use it, or use it wrong, or don't even know they need it? Would you believe me? Because most people don't, and that's exactly the problem. This substance isn't new. It's not some revolutionary lab discovery. It wasn't invented. It has existed for millions of years. Inside you, inside me, inside every living thing that moves muscles and thinks with a brain. Its name is creatine. And you've probably heard that name before. Maybe at a supplement store, maybe someone at the gym mentioned it. Maybe you even tried it once, stopped, and to this day you're not really sure why you quit. That's exactly where the story starts to get interesting. Because creatine is not just a gym supplement. It never was. And most of what you think you know about it is probably incomplete. So before anything else, before I tell you what it actually does, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a day where you woke up tired for no reason? Where you trained below what you knew you were capable of? Where your brain felt slow, foggy, stuck? Yeah? Then you're going to understand exactly what I'm about to show you. Because that fatigue, that slowness, that feeling that you could perform so much better has an explanation. And it runs directly through a molecule your body has been producing since the day you were born.
Here's something that's going to sound almost too simple to be true. When you supplement with creatine every day, the levels of phosphocreatine in your muscles increase. And phosphocreatine is essentially your body's emergency energy reserve. Think of it this way. ATP, the molecule your body uses as direct fuel for every single muscle contraction, gets depleted in seconds during intense activity. Seconds, not minutes, seconds. So what happens then? Your body reaches for that reserve, that phosphocreatine reserve. It donates a phosphate group to regenerate ATP almost instantly. The more phosphocreatine you have stored, the faster your body regenerates energy. More reps, more force applied, more time sustaining the effort. But what if that reserve is running low? That's the question nobody asks. Because most people who work out, who play sports, who do any kind of intense physical activity, are operating with creatine reserves below their maximum potential. Not because they're weak, not because they're training wrong, but simply because they're not replenishing what the effort consumes. It's like trying to run a race car with the tank half full all the time. The car works, but never at the limit of what it's capable of. And this is happening in silence. Every week, every workout, every set that could have had one more rep and didn't. But here's something most people don't see coming. Creatine doesn't just stay in the muscles.
There's a condition called sarcopenia. You may have never heard that word, but you've probably seen its effects. In a grandfather who started walking more slowly for no apparent reason. In a mother who grew more fragile, more cautious on the stairs. In a body that, past a certain age, begins losing strength and muscle mass progressively, almost imperceptibly, until suddenly the fall happens, the fracture, the loss of independence. And with it, often, the loss of identity itself. Sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle mass, strength, and physical function. It begins, according to research, around the age of 30. Slow at first, nearly invisible, but constant, relentless, and completely ignored by most people, including many doctors. To understand sarcopenia, you have to understand what actually sustains muscle contraction at the cellular level. Muscle runs on energy, and the primary energy currency for explosive, high-intensity efforts is phosphocreatine, a compound stored directly inside muscle fibers, ready to be used in the first seconds of any intense movement. It's what allows you to lift something heavy, climb stairs quickly, catch yourself before a stumble becomes a fall.
What science has found is that phosphocreatine levels in the muscles of older adults are systematically lower than in younger adults. Reviews published on PubMed show that this reduction is directly tied to the loss of type 2 muscle fibers, the ones that depend most on creatine to function, and to the natural decline in protein and meat intake that comes with aging. Less creatine, less muscle energy. Muscles that adapt more slowly, that recover more slowly, that lose mass more easily, that respond less to training, that fatigue faster. It's a cycle, and it begins silently, decades before any visible symptom appears. A meta-analysis published in 2025, reviewing studies with over 1,000 participants above the age of 55, found that the combination of creatine and resistance training significantly improves muscle strength, lean mass, and overall physical performance in older adults. Not marginally, in a measurable and clinically relevant way. But here's the detail that cuts deep.
Let me tell you what actually happens when you don't supplement creatine. Not dramatically, honestly, because the truth is far more unsettling than any dramatic story, precisely because of how quiet it is. Nothing explodes. Nothing collapses overnight. What happens is slower than that, and because of that, far more dangerous. Your body keeps functioning. Your muscles keep contracting. Your brain keeps thinking. But all of it happens just a little below what it could be. A little less efficient, a little slower, a little more exhausting than it needs to be. And that a little, that barely noticeable gap between what you are and what you could be, accumulates. Day after day, month after month, year after year. In the gym, the set that could have had 12 reps stops at 10. The weight you were about to surpass stays at the same number for another week. The recovery that would take 2 days takes 3. You chalk it up to sleep, to stress, to life. And maybe those things play a role. But part of what's happening, a quiet, measurable, correctable part, is that your muscles simply don't have the energy reserves they could have. At work, at school, in everyday life, the thought that could have arrived faster comes with a delay. The memory that could have been sharper slips on the details. The focus that should feel automatic takes effort to maintain. None of it is catastrophic. All of it is cumulative. And as the years pass, especially after 30, the silent process of creatine depletion merges with the natural progression of sarcopenia. One compounds the other. The muscle fibers most dependent on phosphocreatine are the same ones lost early